Hey Mike, I'm a fan and I have been following you on YouTube since 2014. I've seen your ups and downs and journey through life, and I feel I would like to share you one of my life experiences. It was the summer of 1986, right after I graduated from high school in Great Falls, Montana. I was 17, full of that teenage excitement about the future. My older but best friend Emily had just started this temporary job as a secretary at a small firm in town, and we used to hang out at her office when things were slow. The building was old, one of those two-story places that used to be a hotel, with these huge, heavy windows that went almost from the floor to the ceiling. I remember it was a hot day, and we were talking about what we'd do with our lives now that high school was behind us. I was restless, pacing around, and ended up leaning against one of those big windows to get some air. I had no idea the latch was broken. The next thing I knew, the window just gave way from the bottom. It was hinged at the top, and the latch at the bottom. And it swung open from the bottom to the top like a pendulum, and I went straight through. I don't remember the fall exactly, but it seemed like it was slow motion. But I remember the feeling of weightlessness as my body tumbled down 2 stories onto the concrete below. Everything went dark for a second, and then suddenly, I wasn't in my body anymore. I was floating, literally hovering above the scene, looking down at myself lying there on the sidewalk. It actually took a few seconds to realize that was me. It was the strangest thing. I could actually hear the thoughts of the people on the ground. I felt completely tuned in. I kept slowly ascending upward till I can see the tops of all the buildings. I could see everything so clearly, and Emily was running toward me, people gathering, shouting for someone to call an ambulance. But the weird part, I felt completely calm. I can see in a full 360 degrees, which was amazing. It was like none of that panic was mine anymore. I wasn't scared, I wasn't hurting. If I can explain it in the English language, it was like I was letting go into love. It was almost like I didn't care what was happening to my body down there. I was just observing. I could feel this warmth surrounding me like a blanket of love, and then I started drifting upwards, away from the town, the people, and even the sound. It all started fading as I floated higher, into space and complete silence. I can still see the earth and its mass. The next thing I remember, I saw a light open up ahead of me. What looked like an opening of colors, I started moving through this multi-light tunnel. I know it sounds cliche, but that's really what it was. A tunnel filled with this soft, warm light. The light wasn't blinding. It was welcoming, almost like it was hugging me, if that makes sense. I wasn't alone either. I didn't see anyone exactly at the start, but I could feel other presences all around me. They weren't threatening, just there. It was like 9-foot angels watching over me, guiding me. As I moved toward the end of the tunnel, I felt this immense sense of love and peace, unlike anything I'd ever felt before. It was overwhelming, but in a beautiful way. I knew deep down, in a way that words can't describe, that I was connected to something much bigger than myself. I couldn't see it, but I knew it was there, waiting for me. It was like this presence that knew every part of me, everything I'd ever done, everything I was, and still loved me unconditionally. And then it happened. And the colors were so vivid and crisp on the other side, it was almost like our current 3D world was a hazy old 1930s movie. Yes, it was that crisp on the other side. My life started playing out in front of me like multiple movies on multiple screens, but as if I was experiencing it all over again. And I can feel emotions of each scenario. I saw myself as a little girl, riding my bike down the street, the day I broke my arm when I fell off. I felt the joy of laughing with my friends after school, the sadness of losing my dog when I was 12. I even saw myself walking across the stage at my high school graduation just a month before. It wasn't just images, though. I felt everything. The happiness, the sadness, and my small bout of depression, the pride, the regret, the arguments with my mom, but there was no judgment in any of it. Just this deep sense of understanding, like it was all part of my life journey. At the end of the tunnel, I felt this presence, this being of light, and to my right I saw a very young version of Duda. Duda was my grandfather's nickname. He passed away when I was 5 years old. He smiled and reached out to me. He told me it wasn't my time and that I have to go back to fulfill my life pledge. Yes, he said it that way. Life pledge. His voice, not outside of me but inside, clear as day, almost communicating telepathically but not speaking in words exactly. He just knew how to communicate directly to my consciousness. Everything was so beautiful. The flooring was white marble. It was a massive room with a white marble columns, almost like ancient Rome. It felt like it was a departing room, a point of no return. I just knew I wasn't going to stay in that beautiful place. I didn't want to leave. I mean, who would? It was so peaceful, so full of love, and with so many questions. I could see a few other beings in the background. I did not recognize any of them, but I could sense I knew of them or have previously interacted with them in some past life of sorts. But I felt this tug, like something pulling me back to the world I'd left behind. Reluctantly, I let go of that light and started to drift away from it, back toward my body, in a very fast speed. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in the hospital. I had broken bones, a fractured wrist, a broken collarbone, and a concussion, but I was alive, and I was in pain. The doctors were in shock that I survived that fall. Because of the way I hit the ground, they said I was lucky, and they tried everything not to lose me. And I am grateful to them and the hospital staff for not giving up on me. But I knew it wasn't luck. It was something else. I had been somewhere. And now I have returned with a message. For the longest time after, I couldn't put it all into words. How do you explain that feeling of peace and love that's so deep, it changes the way you see everything? I mean, everything I tried to tell Emily, and later a few close friends, but I think it was hard for them to fully understand. It wasn't a dream or a hallucination. It was real, more real than anything I'd ever experienced in life. I knew in that moment that there's something beyond this world, and that death isn't something to fear. There's a place waiting for us, and when the time is right, we'll all be going there. But for now, I was sent back, and that's how I've lived my life ever since. Knowing there's more to all of this, I have never taken life so seriously since then, and never get mad at anything anymore. I try living every day with purpose. That's my story, Mike. I hope you can do something with it.